Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started for our afternoon session. So welcome back to all of you guys. Sawadee Krap, Sawadee Krap. Welcome to all of you guys. This afternoon, I'm going to be sharing with you Buddhist chanting and helping you guys to understand what Buddhist chanting is and how it can be used to benefit you in your meditation practice. So I'm going to be teaching these chants to you. You're probably going to be interested in having the laminated sheets that are over there on the table. You're welcome to get one. But first, I'm going to have some things to share with you guys related to the chanting before we actually get going with learning what the chants are. But over the course of the afternoon, I'll be sharing with you why I do this chanting, what they are. I'll help you develop your chanting practice, and then we'll actually be doing it together and ultimately ending up doing some meditation with some chanting. So first, let's just talk about chanting in general and kind of the benefits of chanting. That when you read the words of the Buddha about meditation, that you can see when he describes how to meditate, he describes setting up mindfulness in front of you before you meditate. If you read this book series, by the time you get to volume 7, this is the volume that's dedicated to breathing mindfulness meditation. You can see the original words of the Buddha where he's guiding students and he's instructing them on meditation. I'm going to be sharing that with you as you get going in the course, but you can actually see the original words of the Buddha on meditation. And he talks about setting up mindfulness in front of you. What mindfulness is awareness of mind. More specifically, you're going to learn about the 4 foundations of mindfulness tomorrow. But at different times in the Buddha's teachings, when he's talking about meditation, he talks about setting up mindfulness in front of you before you meditate. What he's talking about is setting up awareness of mind in front of you before you actually start meditating. Rather than just plopping down into meditation and starting to meditate, he teaches you to build this awareness of mind. So I use chanting as part of that to help build this awareness of mind as you ease into meditation. You may or may not decide to ultimately do chanting long term. You don't have to chant in order to get to enlightenment. There's people who get to enlightenment without chanting. It's not part of the core central teachings. But during the lifetime of the Buddha, you had to chant in order to get to enlightenment because that's the way you committed the teachings to your memories, through chanting. But nowadays, it's optional. So even though you might decide at some point not to chant, you will need to set up mindfulness in front of you before you actually start meditating so that you're not just plopping down into meditation, but you're getting the benefit out of having some awareness of the mind as you ease down into meditation. So not only does it help you to set up mindfulness in front of you, building this awareness of mind, it helps you to build concentration and memory. Your mind is just like a muscle. If you have a weight and you go into the gym and you're exercising the bicep and you do reps with that weight every day, your muscle is going to get stronger and stronger and stronger. And the same thing is true about the mind, that as you're training the mind and you're exercising it regularly, it's going to get stronger and stronger and stronger. So what chanting can do for you is it can help you to exercise the mind, to not only develop awareness of mind, but to develop concentration and memory. Because in order to chant, you're going to need a certain level of concentration and memory. And when you first start, you're not going to have that concentration and memory, perhaps. But as you learn to chant and you develop it regularly, it will help to hone your mind. It will help to develop the concentration and memory. It also helps you develop awareness of breath. For any of you guys that are singers or you're used to performing, you know that your breath control is very important. As you sing, you need to have awareness of your breath. And the same thing is true when you're chanting. You need to have a certain amount of awareness of the breath. So not only are you getting this awareness of mind, but you're getting this awareness of breath as you're easing into meditation. And these are 2 things that you need while you're actually meditating. You need awareness of the mind and you need awareness of the breath. So if you can do a little bit of exercising of that prior to meditating, you'll see that when we chant, it's about 2.5 minutes of chanting, so that by the time you end up in your meditation, you've already got your awareness of mind and your awareness of breath. You can be getting benefit right from the beginning of your meditation. Whereas if you didn't chant, it might be 5, 10, 15 minutes before you start really getting benefit in your meditation session. So this is a way for you to get improved benefits out of your meditation. It also helps you to slow, relax, and calm the mind as you ease into meditation, that as you're chanting, it's not just rambling a bunch of words as fast as you can. It's very intentional chanting. You'll hear as we do the chanting, and as you learn it, it takes a certain amount of intention, and it kind of slows the mind down and relaxes it as you ease into meditation. I also noticed when I first started chanting and I first started learning these teachings that sometimes it's challenging for you to be able to see the improvement to the condition of your mind. My mind was bombarded with thoughts and meditation. I couldn't even meditate for more than about a minute or two when I first started because my mind was just so bombarded with thoughts. So it might be challenging for you to see the improvements to your mind, but if you're chanting, you can see the improvement to your chanting practice right away. There's this audible indication that the chanting is improving. So day by day, week by week, as I was chanting, I saw this audible improvement and I used it as motivation. I was like, hey, this is working. I'm getting better at this. There'd be times where I would just practice chanting and work on that. And I'm like, wow, this is sounding better and better. I really like this. This is fun. So it can be motivation and enthusiasm and encouragement for you to develop your practice by doing chanting. Hearing that audible indication of the improvement to your practice. Then the other thing that I notice is that in order to get to enlightenment, you're going to need to have a certain amount of respect or gratitude for the people around you. And by chanting, one of the things that it helped me to do is cultivate this respect and gratitude for the elders. And what I mean by that, by the elders, is all the people for 2,500 years, from the time of Gautama Buddha until now, have been handing down these chants and handing down these teachings one by one by one generation after another, to the point where now, 2,500 years later, here you are learning something that existed so long ago. And these people didn't do this for their own selfish reasons. They knew that these things were beneficial to them, and that's the reason why they were handed down all these years, because they worked for them, so they preserved it, and it works for other people too, and it's been handed down. So I grew my respect and my gratitude for the elders and for Gautama Buddha himself by practicing these chants. I don't suspect that the Buddha actually created these chants himself, the ones that I'm going to teach you, because as you're going to see, there's a certain amount of gratitude and respect and admiration for the Buddha in these chants. And a Buddha doesn't go around teaching people to bow down to them and respect them. This isn't what a Buddha would do. They would have eliminated their ego and their boastfulness and their arrogance. But if you're learning from a teacher who helped you go from anger and sadness and frustration and all these other discontent feelings, like guilt and shame and fear and stress, anxiety, boredom, loneliness, stress, anxiety, the resentfulness. If you learn from a teacher that helped you to go from that to this completely peaceful and joyful mental state where you never again experience any of those discontent feelings, and they didn't want anything from you, they didn't expect anything from you, you'd probably have a lot of respect for this person. So I suspect that the students, either during his lifetime or after his death, having this enormous amount of respect and gratitude for him, probably created these chants as a way to honor and respect him for the work that he did to share these teachings, to be able to help them move from those discontent feelings to this peaceful and joyful mental state. And you might decide to cultivate that same gratitude and respect as well through actually doing some chanting. Just as important as it is to talk about what chanting is and the benefits behind it, it's important to talk about what chanting isn't. Chanting isn't this mystical or magical thing. You might come into contact with people who will tell you that there's certain chants that if you chant this chant, you'll get your boyfriend back or your girlfriend back. Or if you chant this chant, you'll get some extra money and some wealth. Or you'll get this certain job. Or you'll get an extra long life. Some people will tell you if you chant this chant every day, 10 times a day for the next 10 years, you're going to get to enlightenment. This isn't true. This isn't what the Buddha taught. And you can independently verify it for yourself, because you're not interested in believing them, but you're not interested in believing me either. So if somebody tells you, hey, chant this chant, you're going to get an extra long life if you chant this chant. Well, if that's the truth, you should be able to look around their temple and the people that are in that environment, and you should see like 150, 200, 300-year-old people, because they got this extra long life from chanting this chant. Sometimes someone will tell you this is a secret chant. Nobody knows it but me. Here, you've got to chant this, and you're going to get this extra long life, or you're going to get to enlightenment. This is not actually true. The Buddha used chanting during his lifetime in order to help students commit the teachings to their memory. That was the only reason. You can see in the original words of the Buddha where he says that there is nothing auspicious or superstitious about his teachings. You can see it in his own words where he talks about that. So there aren't any rites or rituals or ceremonies or worship. There isn't even prayer in the teachings of the Buddha. So there's no mystical or magical benefits in doing the chanting. It's these things here that it helps you to set up mindfulness, awareness of mind, concentration, memory, develop this awareness of your breath, helps to slow and relax and ease the mind into meditation. It can give you this audible indication that your that your chanting practice is improving. It can help you to cultivate this respect and gratitude for the elders and Gautama Buddha, but don't allow the mind to go into this thought that it's something mystical or magical. As I was mentioning earlier, sometimes when you're chanting things over a long period of time and people no longer know what those words mean, it can take on this kind of air of kind of being mystical or secretive or magical. So that's why I put the translations here so you can see the English translations, that there's nothing mystical or magical about it, so that you can know what the words mean and that there's nothing mystical or magical about it. It's just a way of helping to ease the mind into meditation and get more benefit out of the meditation itself. And as I mentioned, chanting isn't required in order to get to enlightenment. When you learn the core central path to enlightenment, which is the Eightfold Path, you won't see chanting as part of that. And the reason why is because it's not required in order to get to enlightenment. So I teach it to students and I help you learn it. And then I encourage you to practice it for a good 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, and see what you think and see, is it helping you? Is it improving your meditation practice? And ultimately, if you come to the conclusion that it is, wonderful. Keep using it. But if you come to the conclusion that it's not really helping you and you'd rather set it aside, then set it aside. This is the one thing that I'm going to teach you that is truly optional. Everything else that I teach you regarding the path to enlightenment, you would need to learn those things in order to get to enlightenment. But this is the one thing that if you set it to the side, you could still get to enlightenment. But you're going to need to develop these things here. You're going to need to set up mindfulness before you get into your meditation, develop awareness of mind, concentration, memory, awareness of your breath, slow and relax the mind, and these other things. You're going to need to develop respect and gratitude for the people around you. So these are all things that you're going to need to develop, but you can develop them without chanting. Also, whenever you try something new, your mind's going to have a tendency to reject it. The mind doesn't like impermanence. It doesn't like change. So whenever you try something for the first time, it will typically want to reject it right off the bat, because the mind doesn't really want to do the work to figure out whether something's actually beneficial or not. So that's why I suggest people to try it for 4 weeks, 6 weeks, or 8 weeks. So when you first try it, some people just really enjoy it right away as soon as they start learning it. Other people are like, I don't really know about this stuff. So in that case, it could be your mind is just not comfortable with change. So that's why I suggest you try it for multiple times before you really decide whether it's helping you or not. And that's the best way to give your mind the opportunity to move through that impermanence and not just reject something off the bat, which is what you might tend to experience when you not only try things like this, but other things in your life that you try. You might try it once and you're like, no, I don't like it. I'm not doing it anymore. And this is just the mind not liking change. That's one of the significant problems in the unenlightened mind, is that it does not like change. It doesn't like impermanence. So these are all the things that I share with you usually to get you started with understanding chanting. Is there anything that you guys would like to ask regarding this particular teaching here about the benefits of chanting?
Yeah. So within the yogic philosophies, you have the chakra systems, right? And there's a lot about energy and vibration. And there's claims there that the vibration from your voice when you do these chants are helping to sort of clear out some of the energies in the chakra system. Mm-hmm. Does he talk anything about that?
The Buddha doesn't teach anything about the chakras or any of that vibrational stuff. What the Buddha is looking for and what he's guiding you to do is to be able to see the truth and independently verify it so that you can see with 100% certainty that this thing is true. So things like this, even though I've had exposure to those kinds of things, I've never seen the truth that those things are 100% occurring. So the Buddha is always guiding you to be able to see the truth independently on your own without any kind of belief or anything like that. So you won't find that the Buddha teaches about chakras or vibrations of sounds or frequencies or this entity called the universe that some people talk about and things like this. There's a lot of things that you hear about nowadays that people talk about and people tend to believe, but there's not any independently verifiable truth that proves that that is the truth. But people oftentimes will believe these things. It's usually a lot easier for an individual to believe something than to actually do the work to try to verify something and then get to wisdom.
But wouldn't you be able to say that the benefits of this chanting could come from the vibration within your body?
No, because everything that you're doing here and all these benefits are all happening in the mind. The body is one thing and the mind is something completely different. So you're not experiencing these benefits because of what's going on in the body. It's what's going on in the mind that's helping you to do that. So like when I talk about here about getting awareness of the breath and slowing down the mind, the reason why, even though the breath is part of the body, right, because you've got lungs, the mind is fixated to the breath. So when the breath is slowed down, then the mind is slowed down. So all the benefits that you're working towards is all based in the mind.
There's independent scientific research that chanting and similar practices activate the vagus nerve. So I think we just confirm that.
Yeah, that's something outside of what the Buddha taught. So what I'm sharing with you here is how I use this chanting and how it can benefit you in your meditation practice. Mm-hmm. Any other questions that you guys have? Yes, ma'am. If you could use the mics, we have people online that are joining us.
Simple question. Is all of this what's on the slides, is that in the book on volume 1?
I don't have all of these things in the book, but what I do have is on our website, I have these slides listed there and you can download the files and go print them. I see some people have actually done that, where you can get a workbook that I share online for free. You can download it at no cost. And there's a printing shop right here next to the temple that you can take it and go print it for about 150, 200 baht. And they'll put it into like a spiral bound book like these folks have. And you can have all the slides and a place to take notes and all these kinds of things. So while I share a good amount of what I'm teaching is in the book, there's certain things that aren't in the actual book. So you can, combination of what you learn in class and this workbook, as well as the book itself, you'll have everything that I'm sharing with you.
Okay, great. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and where can I find it online? Is it like on chat?
If you go to buddhadailywisdom.com, which is our website, and then from there, there's a link for free books. Yeah. And down towards the bottom, there's resources. And there you'll see all the various courses and classes that I teach. And I've uploaded all the slideshows up there. And you'll see a version with black background like this, which is kind of harder to print because of the black ink. Then there's a version with the white background. And then there's a version with a white background and a notes section where you can actually take notes as a workbook.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, another question?
Just in relation to the ball on the chain prison, what are they called? Vata?
I'm sorry, I haven't.
In relation to
the
ball on the chain prison, what's that? Fetters.
Fetter.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I think we had a really similar question just about this. For me, it feels more like a ritual, like something that I would do daily as like a daily practice with meditation and chanting. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that would be beneficial. Mm-hmm. But from memory, the vatas, not that.
So that's why I'm sharing with you here the qualities of mind that you're benefiting with the chanting, because if you thought that chanting was mystical and magical and it's a rite or ritual or ceremony or worship, or you're praying to some being to intervene on your behalf, you're not seeing yet the natural law of karma, of cause and effect, or action and result, and understanding what the real problem is in the unenlightened mind, which is this unknowing of true reality. So what you're always working to cultivate is wisdom to be able to independently verify the truth and see it for yourself. So even like if I see a scientific study, I'm not going to believe that study. So like when I switched over to veganism, for example, you see all the research that says you need B12 vitamin. Well, I didn't believe that. I didn't take any supplements initially because I was interested in seeing, is this actually true? And then after 2 years, after I depleted the B12 that was stored in the body and I started seeing the symptoms that people were talking about online, then I was like, okay, this is true. I need a B12 supplement in order to be able to be sustained in the world. But then also because I know about impermanence, I know that not everybody needs B12 supplement, because there's some students of mine who have been vegan since they were in the womb of their mother. Their mother ate vegan. So now they're in their 50s. They've been eating vegan their whole life and they've never needed a supplement ever because their body has adapted. So there are certain things like this that the world will tend to kind of adopt and believe when they read something or when they see something. But somebody who's interested in getting to the truth, they will look for that truth and independently verify it. So all of these things that I'm going to, or the chanting that I'm teaching you, it's benefiting you in these ways, which is helping the mind. And you're not believing these things. And it's not mystical or magical that this is happening. It's through a practice of the chanting that is actually producing these improved qualities of mind.
I use the word ritual for myself quite a lot instead of like regular routine. I hate the word routine. So for me, I use the word ritual. So perhaps when I now associate the word ritual, I just look at it as like a daily practice of breathing and, you know, all the beneficial things that I do that I believe are true for me.
Sure.
So perhaps that's where, I was just curious as to,
one of the things that you look to do on the path to enlightenment is, as you're developing your wisdom to get closer and closer to understanding the truth, what you might start realizing is that the way we use language is oftentimes not truly representing true reality. And I'll be talking about this when I talk about like the 5 precepts, how we oftentimes will say like, you're going to kill a tree or kill a plant, where you're not actually killing the plant, you're harvesting it. You're not actually killing it because it's not a living being, which we'll talk about in a couple of days from now. So what you might find out is that you're using certain vocabulary in ways that it's really not actually, defined to be used in that way. So where you're referring to something as a ritual, it may actually be a practice. And that might be a more appropriate way for you to describe certain things that you're doing. Like also, like you just said, like, what did you say? You hate, routine. You hate the word routine, where you probably don't truly hate it. This is probably just a common expression. It's like, I'd rather not use the word routine, right? That's probably what you really mean. You don't truly hate it, right? Because you can't hate something that's not alive, right? That's where the hate and the ill will is coming from. So oftentimes what you'll find is not just you, but a lot of people in the unenlightened state, because of our lack of wisdom, we use vocabulary in ways that it wasn't intended to be used. So one of the things that I needed to do, I was getting on this path, is I need to really understand the English language. I started learning all kinds of words that I wasn't using properly. So I used a dictionary a lot of times to try to understand what it was that I was saying, and was I really truly communicating what it was that was in my mind? Because by the time you get to enlightenment, you'll be communicating very effectively with the people around you, and they will understand exactly what it is you're trying to say, because your mind will be very clear because of that clarity of mind, and you'll be interested in communicating very clearly, so you can be very beneficial to other beings in the world. So you guys might find that you're going to need to look at the vocabulary you're using, and you might find that you're kind of refining the way that you're communicating in the world to represent more true reality of what it is that's truly going on in your mind, and what your thoughts are, what your perspectives are, and things like this. Mm-hmm. Anything else you guys would like to talk about? All right. I'm just going to check online, see if we have any questions coming in. All of you guys online, you're welcome to ask questions through Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom. Or in Zoom, you can raise your hand and ask any questions that you like. Okay, so I'm going to move on to teaching you guys these chants. And for those of you guys that are here, you might be interested in getting the laminated sheet over there on the table. A few people got those before you guys came in, but if you haven't gotten one yet, you're welcome to get one, because there you can have it in front of you. I'm going to also use these visual aids that you see on the projector, but each morning when we come in for meditation and each afternoon, you're welcome to get these chants, because I'm not going to be displaying them in the mornings and in the afternoons when we do our meditation sessions, but I will display them here because I'm going to teach them to you and help you learn what these chants are. So the way that I'm going to teach it to you is I'm going to first do it myself so that you can hear me doing it. Then I'm going to do it again by myself, and I'm going to teach you where the breaths are, where you can actually breathe. Then we're going to do it together as a group, and I'm going to guide you on how to chant it as we go together, chanting it together. And then we'll do it a fourth time where I won't be giving you any guidance at all. We'll just be chanting it together as a group. So you'll see how it goes. There's 3 different chants here. This first chant is referred to as the triple gem or the triple jewel. Whenever you see 3 things in Buddhism, this refers to the Buddha, the teachings, and the community. In Pali, they call it the Buddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha. So the Buddha, the teachings, and the community. These 3 things are very important because you need all 3 in order to get to enlightenment. You wouldn't be able to get to enlightenment with just one of these. So you're going to need the confidence in the Buddha, you're going to need access to his teachings, and you're going to need to be part of a community. Whereas if you just had confidence in the Buddha, but you didn't have access to his teachings and you weren't part of a community, you wouldn't be able to get to enlightenment. Or if you just had access to his teachings and you didn't have confidence in him, or you weren't part of a community, you wouldn't be able to get to enlightenment. Or if you were just part of a community and you didn't have confidence in him, you didn't have access to his teachings, you wouldn't be able to get to enlightenment. Even if you had just 2 of these things, you wouldn't be able to get to enlightenment. If you had confidence in the Buddha and you had access to his teachings, you wouldn't be able to get to enlightenment because you're not part of a community to receive guidance and instruction. So you actually need all 3. That's why we call it the triple gem or the triple jewel. In each one of these phrases, you're chanting as a way of having and cultivating respect and gratitude for each one of these 3 things. You're cultivating gratitude and respect for the Buddha, for the teachings that he shared, and this community that you're part of. Because as you take part in this community, you're going to be learning from me. But when you guys go out and you have lunch together, or when we have different retreats and we go out on events together, you're going to be interacting with each other, and you're going to be like, oh, wow, I really like the way that person is so polite and respectful. I'm going to try to kind of do some of that too. You don't have to tell them that you're doing it. You can just decide like, oh, wow, I like how that person is practicing that particular teaching. Wow, I would like to do some of that myself. So you can actually have encouragement and support from the members of the community around you. Or maybe you're formally learning from one particular teacher, but the community that's around you is going to help you to be able to get to enlightenment, because you're going to be able to see some of these qualities that the Buddha is teaching to cultivate. You'll see those in other people, and you'll be like, wow, I would like to kind of mimic that quality and cultivate the way that they do that thing. That's very wonderful how they did that. And that's just something that you're kind of gathering on your own as you are part of a community. So all 3 of these things are important: confidence in the Buddha, access to his teachings, and being part of a community. So that's why each event that you go to in Buddhist teachings, they will typically start it with this. They will usually start with this particular chant. And when you're chanting, you're learning in the Pali language. This Pali language is the historical language of the teachings of the Buddha. And as I'm chanting it in the Pali language. But since I grew up in kind of a Thai environment, when I'm chanting in the Pali language, I'm chanting with a Thai dialect. No matter where you are in the world, if you go to a Theravada Buddhist temple and you're chanting in Pali, they're all chanting the same words. But when you go to Sri Lanka versus Thailand, the dialect's going to be a little bit different. But you can chant together with people. That's one of the beauties about learning how to chant in the Pali language, is you can go to anywhere in the world that teaches the Theravada teaching, and when they start chanting, you're going to be able to chant right along with them. Whereas if you learn Mahayana Buddhism or Vajrayana Buddhism, you would need to first learn Chinese in order to chant what they're chanting in China, or you would need to first learn Vietnamese in order to be able to chant in Vietnam, or any of these other cultures. You would need to first learn their language before you could actually chant. But in the Theravada tradition, we all chant in the Pali language. So no matter where you are in the world, it's a unifying language where we all chant the same, but there's a slight difference in dialect, but we can all still chant together. So when you're learning to chant, you're going to hear me chanting, but don't think that this is just one set way to chant. And when you hear somebody chanting in Sri Lanka, they're doing it wrong, so to speak. Everybody has a little bit different dialect, just like English, right? We all kind of talk in English a little bit different. We have different accents. The same thing is true with Pali. And it's not that one way is right and one way is wrong. It's just different and it's unique. And this is the universal truth of impermanence. I think I saw your hand. Did you have a question? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and chant this so you guys can hear it, and then I'll take you guys through how I actually teach it for you, okay? So I'll start out with chanting it myself, and you guys can just hear it, okay? So it sounds like this. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Bhutang Bhagavanang Abhivateyami Savakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami. Okay, so that's how it sounds. And you might have noticed that at the end of each one of those phrases, I did like a little bow. Sometimes if you're in a big group of people and they're all sitting on the floor, you might notice that people are bowing to the floor. In Thai, we call this a klop, or in English, we would probably just call it a bow, where they're bowing to the front, where usually there's an image of the Buddha. And what this is doing is this is helping you to cultivate humbleness in the mind. You're not required to bow. This is your practice. Remember, it's your own independent practice. I'm showing you the way that I practice, which led to the condition of the mind that I'm experiencing. And then you decide for yourself what it is that you would like to do and what you're not interested in doing. So this bowing that I do this as a way of showing respect to the Buddha, the teachings, and the community. And if I was sitting on the floor in the past, there were times where I used to bow to the floor. Now I don't bow to the floor anymore. I still just put my hands up like this. Whether you choose to do that or not is up to you. You're not required to do that. If you choose to do it, you're not doing it right necessarily. And if you choose not to do it, you're not doing it wrong. It's your independent practice. And whatever you would like to do, you choose to do that. But the reason why I do this is because it helps me to maintain my humbleness, maintain my respect and my gratitude for the Buddha and for the elders. So this is how you might decide to do the chanting, is with the bow, but it's up to you if you would like to do that. So now what I'm going to do, that's the first time through. The second time through, I'm going to still chant it myself, but I'm going to show you where you can potentially take a breath. Again, you're not required to take a breath here, but this is just an indication, a guidance for you that if you'd like to take a breath, this will be a good time to take a breath. So at the very beginning, when you bring your hands together, I take a nice deep breath here, and then I'd start the chant. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava. Right there's a little breath. Bhutang Bhagavanang Abhivateyami. Then as I'm bowing, I'm taking a nice deep breath. Savakato Bhagavata Dhammo. Again, there's a little half breath there. Dhammang namasami. Then as I'm bowing, I'm taking a nice deep breath. Supatipano emakawato. Little breath. Sawakasankho. Little breath there. Sanghang namami. And then I'm going to bow, and then we move into the next chant. So that last phrase has two places where you can take a breath. And you might start hearing this natural pause in the chant. You can take a breath wherever you'd like to take a breath. It's up to you. But this is just a place where it's kind of nice to take a breath if you'd like to take one. So that's why I share it with you. Okay, so now we'll do it the third time through, but we're going to do it together. Okay, so if you guys would like to chant this together, you're welcome to do that. These sheets that you have, what some people like to do when they're first learning is they like to kind of hold it like this, because then they can look at it and chant it at the same time. Of course, if you'd like to have it in your lap or on the floor, that's up to you. I just give you a little bit of guidance that, hey, if this is comfortable for you, you might decide to do it that way. It's up to you. Okay, so we'll do it together. And as we're doing it together, I'm going to instruct you on the breath. And then we're going to do it one more time together where I won't instruct you at all. Okay, so here, take a nice deep breath if you'd like. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Mahakawa. Breath. Putang Mahakavanang Apivateyami. Sawakato Mahakavata Dhammo. Breath. Dhammang namasami. Nice big breath. Supatipano Mahakavato. Sawakasankho. Breath. Sanghang namami. And then bow. I missed that first breath on that third phrase. I missed the guidance on that one. So it's Supatipano Mahakavato. And then little breath. Sawakasankho. Little breath. Sanghang namami. Okay, so that's that third phrase. Okay, so now we'll do it together, but I won't instruct the breath. Okay, so we'll just do it together as if we're doing it normally. Okay. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Mahakawa. Putang Mahakavanang Apivateyami. Sawakato Mahakavata Dhammo. Dhammang namasami. Supatipano Mahakavato. Sawakasankho. Sanghang namami. Okay, good job. Yay. Some people clap at the end. You'll go to some temples and they will chant, and then at the end of the chant, they will all clap. So feel free to clap. Yay. You did it. Okay. So how do you guys feel about this one? Any questions on this one? Sure.
the rhythm of everything, and also I was thinking about the Pakawat. Like it sounds like you're saying with M.
Pakawato.
Yeah,
Pakawato.
yeah. Sounds like you're saying something with Makawatung.
Pakawato.
Oh, okay. I'm just hearing wrong.
Yeah, the way that when I happened to be learning chanting, I was also learning mandolin at the time. And when you're playing an instrument, you might know that you use a metronome, right? So there's a certain metronome, there's like a consistent tap. So it's kind of like Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Potang Bhagavantang Apivateyami. Right, so you can kind of think about that if you'd like to kind of keep some consistency in your chanting. If you play musical instruments, this might help you. If you don't, no worries. But if you do that, then that could help you with your tone and your kind of tempo as you go through the chant. Any other questions on this one? Okay, you guys ready for the next one? The next one tends to be a little bit easier because it's just the same phrase repeated 3 times. And if you were growing up in Thailand, as soon as you start mouthing a few words, like you're 10 months old, 12 months old, they'll start teaching you this chant. This is like the first one. So when I learned how to chant, I learned this one first. Then I learned the one that I just taught you, because the syllables in this one show up in a lot of the other chants. So if you'd like to break this down, if learning 3 chants at one time is a bit much for you, you might start with this one and then learn some of the other ones. But some people say they like to just learn all 3 at the same time, like you guys are doing. So feel free to do that too. But if you'd like to break it down a little bit, this might be one that you kind of tackle first and just get used to chanting this. Then you'll find that the other ones will be easier. So I'm going to do the same thing. We'll do it 4 times. I'll do it once myself. I'll do it once and show you where the breaths are. Then we'll do it together with guiding the breath. And then we'll do it together without the breath. And we'll just do it as a group. So here, this is the way this one sounds. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. So here you see that there's no bowing here, right? You might actually hear the pause a little bit and start realizing where the breath is here. So you might even not need me to instruct you on where the breath is, but I'll do that. So here, where the breath is, it's like this. Arahang Samma Sambuddho. Oops, I used the wrong one. You guys are like, what's he doing? That's some impermanence for you guys, right? All right, here we go. You ready? Namo Tassa Bhagavato. There's a breath here. Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. You take a nice deep breath here. Namo Tassa Bhagavato. There's a little breath here. Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Then there's a nice deep breath. Namo Tassa Bhagavato. Breath. Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Okay, that's very simple, right? Very easy. So now let's do it together, and I'll instruct the breath and kind of help you guys through it, and then we'll do it a fourth time where I won't help you at all. We'll just do it together, okay? So if you'd like to bring your hands together, you're welcome to, but again, it's up to you. It's your choice. It's your practice. So here we take a nice deep breath. Namo Tassa Bhagavato. Breath. Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Breath. Namo Tassa Bhagavato. Breath. Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Breath. Namo Tassa Bhagavato. Breath. Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Okay. So now we'll do it without any instruction. We'll just do it together as a group, okay? And those of you guys at home, you guys can be chanting along as well. So whether you're on Zoom or Facebook or YouTube, you're welcome to chant along as well. Okay, so if you guys like to take a nice deep breath here, I won't guide you. We'll just do it as a group. Namo Tassa Bhagavato. Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato. Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato. Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Wow, really good. Yay. You hear some of that harmony coming in there, right? Getting a little bit of harmony going. This is good. Maybe one of you guys can pick up a mic too. We got 2 mics. We can let everybody hear it, right? Maybe American Idol will give you guys a call, The Voice or something. You don't know. Hey, it's out on the internet. It's on the internet, so, people might hear it and you guys get phone calls or something. All right. Okay, so any questions on this one?
Can you just repeat
Mm-hmm.
the first?
Namo.
Yeah.
Namo Tassa Bhagavato.
All right. So Namo.
Namo Tassa Bhagavato. Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Which one? Namo Tassa Bhagavato. Bhagavato. Arahato Samma. Arahato. It's a little rolling of the tongue. That took me a long time to get that. For those of you guys that speak other languages, you might already have that rolling of the tongue, but English doesn't really have that. So I had to really practice that. Ara, right? So it's kind of a rolling of the tongue. And you guys learned about the 4 stages of enlightenment earlier. Do you remember the 4 stages of enlightenment? Stream entry, once returner, non-returner, and arahant. That's what the arahato is. That's how to say arahant in Pali, right? So arahato. So here what you're saying is you're enlightened. The Buddha is enlightened. That's what you're saying. So Namo Tassa Bhagavato. Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Okay. Any more questions on this one? You guys can practice this in the shower. It's fun. You get the acoustics in there. You go in the bathroom. It's really nice. I used to practice in the shower all the time. Yes, if you go to YouTube or our podcast, there's a one in there where I just chant for 2.5 minutes, just these 3 chants, and you can put it in your ear while you're chanting, so it'll help you. So you can either use YouTube or the podcast for that. There's a version of it in both places. If you just search for chanting, and if you can't find it, send me a message, and then I'll give it for you and send you the link. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you guys can go after you learn this. You can go into any temple here in Thailand or anywhere that's a Theravada temple in the world, and they'll be chanting these. They'll be chanting a whole bunch of other stuff too, but these are the 3 main chants that they chant. That's one of the beauties of learning in this tradition. You can go anywhere in the world and sit down and chant with them and be part of the community. Okay, so it's the same thing 3 times. Now this next one, I found it to be a bit more challenging, but some people tell me they find it easier to do it, right? So I'm going to do the same thing. I'll do it once, then I'll do it once with guidance, helping you understand where the breath is, then we'll do it together with guidance, and then do together alone. Okay, so here's how this one sounds. Iti piso mahakawa Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vichacharanang Sammuno Sakato Rokavito Anutero Purisa Dhamma Sati Satatawa Manusanang Bhutto Bhagavati. So I usually do a little bow at the end of this one, and I usually drag it out. Whereas if you're around Thai people, they might abruptly stop it. It might be Bhagavati, and they'll just stop it with ti. But I tend to drag it out because I think it sounds a lot better, and I bow at the end here. Okay, so this is, I refer to this as the iti piso, but there's other ways to refer to it as well. So now I'll do it and I'll share with you the breath. You might be able to hear this already where you hear me pausing, those natural pauses. That's a great place to take a breath. But remember, you're not required to take a breath there, but you can if you like. So let me just help you to understand where that is. So when I'm chanting this, iti piso mahakawa. Little breath there. Arahang Samma Sambuddho. Nice deep breath here. Vichacharanang Sammuno. Little breath there. Sakato Rokavito. Now there's a big breath here, and there's going to be 2 pauses in that last phrase. Here it goes. Anutero Purisa. Little breath. Dhamma Sati Satatawa Manusanang. Little breath. Bhutto Bhagavati. So there's 2 little pauses there on that last phrase. Okay, so now we can do this one together, and I'll guide you at first. Okay, so if you'd like to take a nice deep breath here. Iti piso mahakawa. Little breath. Arahang Samma Sambuddho. Little breath. Vichacharanang Sammuno. Breath. Sakato Rokavito. Breath. Anutero Purisa. Breath. Dhamma sati sata tawa manusanang. Breath. Oto bhagavati. Okay, so from there you would slip into meditation, right? Whatever your meditation posture is going to be. Okay, so now let's do it as a group, and I won't share any guidance. We'll just do it as a group. Okay, so here we go. Iti piso mahakava arahang samma sammuto vichacharanang sammuno sakato rokavito anutero purisa dhamma sati sata tawa manusanang Oto bhagavati. And that's where you slip into your posture. Okay? Any questions on this? Yes, ma'am.
Just wondering why it says unexcelled trainer of those who can be taught.
Okay, so he's a excellent trainer of those who can be taught, meaning those who choose to be taught. Because someone who's not choosing to be taught, they can't be taught. Like if someone's ego is up really high, or they're just not interested in learning how to get to enlightenment, a Buddha can't help them. It's only those that can be taught, those that are interested in being taught, those who choose to be taught. So he's an unexcelled trainer, meaning he can train people better than anyone else because he's the fully perfect and enlightened one with that deep, profound wisdom. Mm-hmm.
And he's also teaching heavenly beings.
Yeah, during his lifetime, there's documentation where heavenly beings were coming to him, and he would like be in the field at nighttime, getting ready to go to sleep, and the whole sky would light up, and these beings would be soliciting teachings from him and guidance from him, and then he would be teaching them. So it's in the human realm and in the heavenly realm that these beings can get to enlightenment, and he's a teacher of both human beings and heavenly beings as well. Mm-hmm.
How do beings get into the heavenly realm without being on the path of enlightenment? You mentioned that earlier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so whether you are reborn or not is dependent on your craving. So if you have craving at the time of death, which you guys are going to learn about tomorrow, and I think you may have already learned with me, if you have craving at the time of death, that's the fuel that causes rebirth. That's the trigger that says, aha, this person's going to be reborn. But then what realm you're born into and what condition you're in that realm is based on your karma, the results of your decisions. So an individual can tap into these natural laws of existence without having ever learned the teachings of the Buddha. He's explaining the natural laws, but other people have tapped into them as well. Like if you look at Jesus Christ's teachings, there's a lot of similarities, or Prophet Muhammad, or Hinduism, or Judaism, or things like this. There's certain similarities. Even my grandmother, like she grew up Christian. She speaks very politely, very kindly, very friendly. She has these little phrases like, if you don't have anything good to say, don't say anything at all, and things like this. So people kind of tap into these natural laws and they start to understand the wisdom of what would be wise to practice in the world. So without even learning the teachings of the Buddha, an individual can get into the heavenly realm without necessarily having learned his teachings. But they are learning the natural laws of existence because they've learned them in other ways through other means and things like that. And even if somebody's on the path to enlightenment, and even if you're learning these teachings, you can actually still get into the heavenly realm without actually getting to that third stage of enlightenment. That third stage of enlightenment, they will be reborn in heaven, and they will get to enlightenment at that existence, but there's other ways to get into the heavenly realm as well. It's not just like one door. And it's also important to understand that the goal of this path to enlightenment isn't to get to the heavenly realm, right? I always kind of emphasize that when I'm talking about these realms of existence. Your goal is to get to enlightenment in this life, so your mind can be peaceful and joyful in this life. But if for some reason you fall short of enlightenment, there's the potential that you would be reborn into the heavenly realm and get to enlightenment there. So that's why you can understand that aspect of the cycle of rebirth. There's specific reasons why the Buddha taught the cycle of rebirth. And as I mentioned, it's true. It's 100% the truth. You should never believe the cycle of rebirth. There's ways to independently verify it. And if you're ever interested in doing that, you'll learn over the course of your journey with me as a student that if you take all the various classes at the appropriate time, I'll be introducing you to the cycle of rebirth and showing you how to independently verify it for yourself. But at the beginning like this, in a foundational class, foundational program, I usually don't talk about it too much because there's core and central teachings that are really helpful for you to focus on those first. And that's what's going to really produce the most benefit to the condition of the mind. But these things are very interesting to talk about. All right, any other questions on the chants? Okay. So here's what I suggest we do. I suggest we go through all three one time without me instructing you or guiding you. We'll just go through all three. You guys game? Like to give it a try? Okay. So I'll flip up here in case you guys need this. But if you have the laminated sheets, those can help you too. Okay. So we'll just start from the very beginning. We'll just all chant together. Okay. And do it like you're auditioning for American Idol or The Voice. Okay. Or Belgian Idol, or Swedish Idol, or wherever you're from. Okay, all right. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Mahakeva Bhutang Mahakavanang Apivateyami Savakato Mahakavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Mahakavato Sāvaka Saṅkho Saṅghang Namami Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Iti piso mahakava Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vicacaranang Sammuno Sakato Rokavitu Anutero Purisa Dhamma Sati Satatawa Manusana Oto Bhagavati. Hey, that sounded good. Okay. Nice harmonies there. All right, good job. I don't know if you folks at home can hear, but there's a lot of harmony going on in here. This is good. All right. So this is the chanting that we do before meditation and then after to help ease the mind out of meditation. There are some students that have told me that knowing that they're going to be chanting at the end of meditation to kind of ease them out of meditation helps them to kind of let go a little bit more while they're in meditation. They feel more freedom to let go because they know they have something to kind of ease them out of meditation at the end. So you're going to see that over this course, each time we meditate, I'm going to be easing into meditation with chanting and coming out of meditation. So you're going to get practice, or at least have the opportunity to practice these chants as you go through the 5-day course. These laminated sheets, they're going to be on the table over there. So when you come in the morning, you can just pick one up and use it if you like. In the afternoons, the same thing. They're going to be over there. So you guys can get used to chanting here in the class and get any help that you like. And after the chants, we're going to ease into the meditation and then ease out of it with these chants as well. Excuse me. So do you guys have any residual questions on the chants at all? Okay, so here's what I usually do at this point is we usually take a little 5-minute bio break just if you need a restroom or a little drink of water or something. And then we come back and then we do the chants and then I guide you in a brief meditation just to give you guys a little taste of the breathing mindfulness meditation. Tomorrow afternoon, I'm going to actually teach it to you just like I taught you chanting like this. I'll teach it to you tomorrow afternoon, but this afternoon and tomorrow morning, you get a chance to practice a little bit of the meditation before I come in and actually teach it to you. So if you guys would like to put the chanting together with the meditation, let's do that in about 5 minutes time. Give you guys a chance to stretch your legs, use the restroom, and get some water. Okay? Hello, Poon. How are you? Sawadee krap. Ni hao. Okay, just to kind of help you guys get started with a little bit of meditation, again, I'm going to teach you everything that you need tomorrow, but just to help you guys get a little bit started for today and tomorrow is you would like to be sitting either on the floor or in a chair. There's also lying meditation and standing and walking, which you can also learn as part of this course. But usually when people are first starting to learn, they learn in the seated position. But at any point, if you'd like to use the lying or the standing or even the walking, once you learn the walking on Wednesday, feel free to use that. But if you're going to use the seated position, usually you're either sitting in a chair or on the floor. You would like to make yourself comfortable. Oftentimes, multiple cushions under the rear is what people tend to use because it gets the hips up in the air and it lessens the angle at the hips, the knees, and the ankles. Some people will even put their legs off the mat, which accomplishes the same thing, which gets the hips up in the air. The lower body should be relaxed and comfortable. You're not interested in it being painful, and you're not interested in being luxurious. So if you have your legs lightly crossed, this will allow the circulation to flow. The Buddha put his right hand over his left with his thumbs together, and he put this into his lap. If this is comfortable for you, you could use it, but there's other options too. It's not about everybody doing it exactly the same way, because that's not actually possible. So if you find putting your palms on your thighs or your knees or your palms up or maybe even in your lap, whatever you find comfortable, use that, because the lower body and the hands and arms should be completely relaxed and comfortable. The upper body should be erect, whereas if you're slouched, the mind would have a tendency to be lethargic or dull. But if you were real rigid, the mind might have a tendency to be overactive and uptight. So you'd like the upper body to be erect so that the mind can be attentive and alert during the meditation. We're going to start with the chanting to ease the mind into meditation. And now that you guys have learned that, you can chant along. And then once we get into the meditation, I'll be giving you guys some guidance. For about 5 minutes or so, I'll be guiding you in the meditation and guiding you to understand how to actually do the meditation while we're actually doing it together. But then there's going to be a period of time where I'm just quiet and we're just meditating together. Those of you guys here and those of you guys at home, we'll just all be meditating together. And then we'll come out of the meditation with some more chanting. And then from there, we'll end up our class, and then I'll let you guys know what we're going to be doing tomorrow, and then we can go from there. Okay, so make yourself comfortable. If at any point you feel pain, I suggest getting a chair or getting more cushions or anything like that. There's no certificates given for going through pain during meditation, right? So make sure that the body's relaxed and comfortable, not painful or luxurious. So if you guys would like to join in the chants, I'll go ahead and get started and then I'll guide you, okay? Arahang Samma Sambuddho Mahakawa Bhutang Mahakavanang Abhivateyami Savakato Mahakavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Mahakavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Iti piso Mahakawa Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vicacaranang Sammuno Sakato Rokavito Anuttaro Purisa Dhamma Sati Satatava Manusanam Oto Bhagavati. Okay, with the lower body and hands and arms comfortable, and the upper body erect, just close the eyes and start breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Here you're just looking to establish the breath. A nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. Not forced or controlled. Just a gradual inhale through the nose, experiencing the full breath. And then, whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Your breath may not match up with the guidance that I'm providing, and that's okay. This is your practice. I'm just here for guidance. You can use this voice as a reminder that whenever you get to your next inhale, breathe in gradually through the nose, experiencing the full breath, establishing a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. And then when you're ready, exhale out through the nose. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Once the breath is well established, start fixating the mind on the breath, either the sound of the breath coming into the nose or the sensation of air moving over the skin into the nose. The breath is the present moment. Fixate the mind on the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the mind fixated on the breath, whenever you notice that it moves off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. No need to observe the thought, label it, judge it, analyze it, or even try to figure out where it's coming from. Whenever you notice that the mind is moved off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. I'm going to be quiet now and let you do this work of focusing on the breath, cutting off and letting go anytime the mind moves off the breath. You have nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. No one needs you right now. This is your time to focus on the breath. Breathing in and out. sammuto makeva Otang makevanang apivate ami Savakato makevata dhammo Dhammang namasami Supatipano makevato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Iti piso emakeva Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vichacharanang Sammuno Sakato Rokavito Anutero Purisa Dhamma Sati Satatawa Manusanang Bhoto Bhagavati. Okay, if you guys would like to slowly make your way out of meditation. This was just a short little meditation just to kind of help you get your feet wet and put it together with chanting. As we go throughout the course, I'll kind of gradually make these longer and longer, that by the time you get to the end of the course, you might actually be meditating for a good 30 minutes, which is what you'd like to build up to. But we'll talk about all that tomorrow. When you first start meditating, you might notice that the mind is bombarded with thoughts. This is very common when you first start meditating. Or you might have a thought and you might indulge in it for a period of time and follow it before you realize, like, oh yeah, that's right, I'm meditating. Let me get back here. Let me get the mind back. You might have even indulged in it for 2 or 3 minutes. That doesn't mean that you're bad at meditation. It's just that the mind isn't trained yet. Everybody starts wherever they start. Everybody starts at different places in their meditation practice. It's wise to not judge your meditation as good or bad. Don't judge yourself as being good or bad at meditation. It is what it is. If you notice that you had a bombardment of thoughts during meditation, that was a beneficial meditation, because you see with your mindfulness, your awareness of mind, that you have lots of thoughts, and that's good insight for you. That's good wisdom for you. Or if you notice that you indulge in a thought for a period of time, okay, that's awareness of mind. You're practicing mindfulness. That's what you're working towards. So we're going to talk about these things tomorrow, but I would just like to let you know that now that you've done this first meditation, if you experienced either of these things, that's completely normal. And as you get going with meditation, you'll notice more peace and calm and joy coming into the mind, but that takes time to gradually build up to. So wherever you start is where you start. You're not in a competition with anybody. You're not in a race with anybody. You're not, trying to catch up to anything. It is what it is. And you experience whatever you experience, and it's always beneficial. No matter how you look at meditation, it's always beneficial. This book that we're using for this retreat that I share is called Developing a Life Practice, The Path That Leads to Enlightenment. It's titled that for a reason, because you're developing a life practice. Over the next 5 days, you're working to develop this life practice, and it's going to take you more than just 5 days to develop it, but you're getting started here. So even though we meditate in the mornings and we meditate in the afternoon in this course, feel free to meditate in the evenings too, before you go to bed. If you usually go to bed at 10 p.m., probably ought to be meditating somewhere around 9:30, because you're interested in meditating before you get sleepy, because you would like your mind to be attentive and alert during the meditation. So you might decide to work towards adding another meditation into your day so that you get used to meditating throughout your day, and you'll see the effect that it has. The Buddha meditated 3 times a day, and this has an enormous effect if you can build up to this point. But when you do it on your own, you might meditate for 5 minutes, for 10 minutes. Like you heard, I started out with just 1 or 2 minutes. Wherever you start is where you start. You're not in a competition or a race with anybody. So even if you just get in the habit of meditating 1 or 2 minutes, that's fine. Or 5 minutes or 10 minutes, that's fine. Just do it. And then gradually expand wider and wider from there. So over the next 5 days and over the next several weeks and months, work on developing your life practice, where you're developing this practice that is going to sustain you in life and help you become a better and better person, so that you can go out into the world and do amazing things where you're having sustaining and fulfilling relationships with all the people around you, and you can accomplish amazing things in the world. So this is the life practice that you develop, is being able to develop a meditation practice. So tomorrow we're going to be starting off with chanting and meditation. Then I'm going to be sharing with you the Eightfold Path. And in order to do that, I'm going to be sharing the 3 universal truths, the 4 noble truths, the Eightfold Path. This is the core central teaching of the Buddha. If you're interested in getting to enlightenment, you would need to know this teaching inside and out. So we're going to spend the whole morning talking about it, and I'll take a break in the middle of the morning like I did today. Then in the afternoon, when we get back from our hour-and-a-half lunch break, I'll be sharing with you breathing mindfulness meditation. Just like I did chanting today, I'm going to go through in detail and teach you breathing mindfulness meditation. But you'll get a chance to experience it a few times before I teach it to you. So that way you'll have a frame of reference to understand once I start teaching it to you. And we end this class, like I mentioned, at 3 o'clock each day, so that you can go out into the world and you can practice the things that you've learned. You can integrate them into your life, right? Rather than just staying around the temple for an entire day and you're kind of in this petri dish where everything's quiet and silent. No, go out into the world and meet people and talk to people and practice your loving kindness and your compassion and all the other things you're going to learn on this path. So have a really wonderful and lovely rest of your day. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great day and enjoy the new year. We'll see you tomorrow. Sawadee krap, sawadee krap.
Thank you again for watching. Enjoy your meditation. Look forward to seeing you online and answering any questions that you might have. Thank you so much.